Okay. Here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do this the quick way so you guys have the full video. Here is our work layer. I have a teacher demo folder that's going to show you guys the final copy, so I can kind of skip forward. But we're gonna do stuff here together. First thing is our clone background layer. We are going to.
Do we have to use the 1/60th, or could we mess with it?
Use the proper setting for studio lighting. So with the clone stamp tool, we're gonna hit it's right here. It's also just keyboard shortcut S. Option click, and make sure that your sample is current and below. So it's gonna take this current layer and the layer below it, and we are going to clone, 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 clone. Okay. Option click, option click. I'm gonna fix up a couple other areas down there. Zoom in using Command plus. Make my brush smaller using the brackets. Now is where we use the pen tool. So with the pen tool, we can just click the letter P, but it's right here. Zoom in, click, and then click and hold, and I can pull. It's not a good point. Click and hold, and I can pull out to match my curve. Option click to break my handle so it doesn't impact my next piece. Somewhere in there. Option click. Click and hold, give it a little curve. Option click. Click and hold. Option click. Pull. Option or hold click, hold down your selection. Option click. Option click. Click and hold. Option click. And then we can just click out just with straight lines because we need to complete this shape. We have a line, and when we close, you'll see the little circle. Okay. I'll zoom out. So now I have my pen tool selection. We're going to go over to paths. So we have layers, and we have paths. Control click. We're going to make a selection. Okay, so now we have the marching ants. We're going to go back to layers. Okay. And now I'm back in my clone stamp tool. Okay. And now my selection, anything in here, option, click. And I'm good. So now to get rid of this selection, I'm going to deselect. Command D. Okay, so that's my first spot. So I'm good here. Just a tiny little area down here that I want to get rid of. A little dust on the lens or on the sensor. So I'm going to fix those up real quick. Okay. Oops. Okay. And then we'll fix that later. That'll be really easy for us. Now let's work on our adjustment layers. I'm going to do these quick, so the video is quick, and then I'll show you my teacher versions. But right here is layer adjustments, and we're going to go to levels. First level we're going to do is we're going to do our dodge. So I'm going to bring my midpoint to the left and lighten up. Okay? And then here's my mask. I don't want to invert my mask. It's all white. Black hides, white reveals. So Command I to invert. Now my whole Command I, Command I, Command I, Command I. And now what I get to do is selectively paint in my highlights. So my brush opacity, how faded my brush is going to be down around like 28%. And as long as my brush, my layer mask is selected over here with the paintbrush, black and white, and here are my adjustments. That's going to be my size right now. My hardness is at 0, so it's super soft and faded. So I'm going to zoom in, and lightly paint. Make my smaller, paint. Anything, any area that I would like to kind of emphasize the highlights. And every time I drop and click my mouse, an area is going to get brighter. Okay. If I want to see my mask, option, click on the layer mask, and it's going to show us where we've painted. If I paint over an area once, that's 28%, and then the more times I paint over an area, the brighter it's going to get. So now if I wanted to get rid of that area, okay, and then I'll bring that back down. Okay, so that's what you're going to go through for all of your highlights, and we're going to call that dodge. Okay, I'm going to turn that off, and let's do a burn layer. Okay, so we can name it burn just by double clicking on the text. And then I want to take my middles, my grays, I'm going to bring these down until some shadows get kind of dark and fun. And then again, invert my layer mask. Okay, so that way I get to paint using white what comes back. Are you all done?
You want us to make the background black?
No, don't worry about that because I moved you. But match the composition, match the angle of the light, match the quality of the light and the exposure. So now what I get to do real quick is paint in my shadows. So I'm going to paint in like areas here. Okay, anywhere where the leather gets dark. You'll see in my teacher sample, so my teacher demo here, this is my burn mat or my burn. So these are all the areas I darkened. And these are all the areas that I lightened. So this is my dodge layer. Okay, so just for the sake of speed, that's going to be our burn and dodge right now. Okay. So I have my clone background layer. What I'd like to do now, so after you're all done burning and dodging, we are going to do a little bit of sharpening. So we're going to duplicate our work layer using Command J. We're going to sharpen. So filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. You're going to have three different things. You're going to have your amount. Okay. And this is your 100% preview. So zoomed in at 100%. This is what the pixels look like. You have your radius. Okay, obviously that's too much. And then you have your threshold. So if I increase this, and let's say I don't like how some of the little nitty-gritty stuff is showing up, I can actually increase my threshold. Some of the smaller details you'll notice up here won't show through as much. Okay, so whenever I think I'm ready, I'm going to sharpen, and I want to actually duplicate now my sharpen layer, and I'm going to do a high pass filter. Okay, high pass filter, sharpen or filter, other, high pass. Now everything's going to go gray here. What you don't want to do is this. This is going to be really too much for you, and this is what we call banding or highlighting or haloing. And so you want to bring this down until you just start to see some of your nice details, like the edges of the glove, somewhere in there. And whenever you're ready, you're going to hit OK. Now we're going to work our way into blend modes and how the layers stack on top of each other. So in my layers palette, I have my high pass layer selected. The ones you're going to use, every one of these do something different in the way that this layer lays on top of the layer or layers below it. For high pass, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light will probably be the best ones to use. If you want a little bit more punch, a little bit more of the little details, you're going to use vivid light. If you want some of the softer stuff, you're going to use either soft light or even overlay. I'm going to do hard light, or vivid light, I'm sorry. For sharpening as well, sometimes when you unsharp mask, things get discolored. And so what I want to do actually is go down to luminosity. And that just tends to take the color changes and shifts out and just keeps the sharpening for me. So that's kind of where we're at right now. A couple things that we're going to do here. We could even do it on our work layer or our sharpen layer or our clone mask layer, honestly. Like one of the things we'll definitely get rid of this up here. So again, we're back on the clone background layer. Option click, and I get to just kind of drag over, erase all this. That's getting kind of crazy, a little dark. We can fix that. if we go to our work layer, I mean, what we could really do if we wanted is use the magic wand and select a bunch of stuff, but I don't think that's going to be a good option for us. Your best bet would be to continually, to be on your clone background layer and just keep pulling these bright areas. And you could even use stuff from down here. You just want to be careful not to start grabbing the edge and feed into your object a little bit. The other thing you could do is we can go down to your work layer, and we actually could use the dodge tool. So the dodge tool is going to take our shadows, or midtones or highlights, but we're going to choose shadows, and by clicking on them, it's going to brighten up the shadows. We may have to click the midtones a little bit, and there's a good chance that we're going to probably have to do this on the sharpen layer as well. But you'll see as the more times I click over, the brighter it gets. And that's click, 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 click. And that's all we're going to need, at least for now. Okay. And it's just going to kind of nuke out all that really bright stuff, make it even brighter for us. Okay. So when you're all done, you can bring your original or your background layer up to the top. I already did it earlier and I named it original so I can understand what I'm doing. If I look back at this, this is the original image that I started with. This is my class one that I just did with you guys. But then here's my finished with all of my different layers on it. The only other thing I did that we can do together is we're going to make a new layer on the top, just above our clone background layer, and we're going to call it shadow. So I'm going to use a gray, and I'm going to use a really light gray, and I'm going to use a brush, the paintbrush tool. Okay, it's going to be kind of big and soft, and I'm just going to drop my opacity so I get just a couple little drops of like a shadow. So it kind of makes the glove feel like it's floating a little bit. It's kind of wide, the glove isn't that deep, so I'm going to transform it, Command T. I'm just going to pull it down vertically to kind of make it feel like the shadow's a little bit thinner, and then I could also lower my opacity more. Because just the tiniest little hint of a shadow is all you're going to really need. And then the last thing I would do is I would add some noise, because it's going to be very digital. So I would go into noise, add noise, and then just anywhere between 2, 3, 4 for noise. And that's just going to give it the tiniest little bit you'll see in there. I'm going to make sure it's monochromatic because I don't want colored pixels. I just want to break it up a little bit so it doesn't look super digital. Okay, and if I didn't like that, I could also still probably drag it down. Just the tiniest little hint. Okay. We're going to save, and then that's your product editing.